The family of the suspect arrested in the murder of a college student say they are worried he will not get a fair trial in Utah. Prosecutors say Ayoola Ajayi kidnapped and killed Macakenzie Lueck last month. There are no official charges just yet, but the family's attorney says judgments are already being made based on limited police evidence and media coverage.
AJ is being crucified already. There's no way you can watch all this that is being said about your loving son and you'll be able to be at peace. Let him come before the court. Let him be tried. Let's see the evidence. Let the jurors do their work. And let's see the result.
David Bruno is a criminal defense and trial attorney, also a former prosecutor. So the family is claiming that this trial should be moved out of state. Have you ever heard of a criminal trial being moved to another state completely?
No. The answer is no. I mean, in Utah, they do have a statute and regulation that says that that a case can be moved out of the county, but certainly does not talk about state. And by the way, it's so premature to even have this conversation. There aren't even charges yet. And let's look at the Boston bombing case, okay? Boston bombing, there was a city on lockdown. In fact, the jurors were actually on lockdown and considered victims of the crime. There was no move of venue there, nor is it going to happen here. Simply put.
Don't you have to go through some voir dire first and try and find a jury locally? And if you can't find a jury locally, then you can appeal for?
Well, not necessarily. The motion to change venue can be moved prior to jury selection. But you bring up jury selection, that's where the judge is going to say, well, we have a system in place to ferret out taint and abuse. So the jury selection process is there to make sure that defendants get a fair trial, and that should be enough in this case.
The strange thing, too, is that the attorney is in New York, apparently is acquainted with his family in Nigeria, but he's in Salt Lake City, and she's not officially representing him yet. She's just kind of speaking for the family.
Right. Very early, right? I mean, an attorney is making public comments about a case without even being retained, nor is she even in Utah. So that brings up another question. Right? But again, this case is a sad one, no question. It's going to get pretrial publicity, but it's not going to be enough. Right now, they're reporting on the facts of the case, that there's electronic communications between the defendant and the victim prior to her missing, that witnesses saw him burning things in his yard, and they have DNA evidence of the victim in the yard. So you know what? They're reporting on facts. It's not going to be enough to transfer venue.
Well, the attorney, whether she officially represents him or not, I suppose you can credit her with trying to do as good a job as possible with what she's got to work with, huh?
Right. I mean, the reports are coming out are very, very damning against this defendant. And if all true, I think this is an open and shut case. And by the way, because there's a desecration of the human body, because the allegation is that he burned her, it's an aggravated murder, which is applicable for the death penalty in Utah.
And there were the reports from a handyman, a carpenter, who was reportedly asked by this suspect to build a sort of a secret soundproof room in the guy's basement.
Sure. Earlier this year, a couple months ago, you know, troubling. There's also reports coming out about a rape in 2014 that was not charged. The girl says that there was a consensual relationship that ended in a forceful rape. You know, so there's some of the reports that this attorney is talking about. But is it enough? Absolutely not. There's a jury selection process that's going to be enough for this case.
Fair justice prevails in this country, regardless?
Oh, absolutely. You know, even in the trial itself, that judge is going to sit on that bench and make sure that the evidence that comes through is the rules of evidence, that there's no hearsay, that it's fair, so that we could ultimately see the end verdict as a fair one.
David Bruno, thanks for your expertise.
You got it, John.